Hello, this is Nigel Evans with the Event Planning Academy, and today I'd like to focus on why we are seeing fundamental change in the world of event planning and why generational theory and social relevance may be involved. Have you ever heard somebody refer to a brand new solution, service, product or situation by proudly or defiantly stating that this isn't your grandfather's, whatever it is? While I was doing some research for this article, I did a quick scan through Google, and sure enough, there were literally dozens of hyperlinks pointing to headlines, linking that declaration to subjects as diverse as a closet, a shotgun, an epic 4G touch, motor oil, the national debt, the Constitution, a helicopter, why even an interferometer, whatever that is. Why do I bring all this up? Well, in relation to the event planning industry, things have changed so much that we can forget all about grandpa and say that this isn't even your father's event planning industry anymore. Now, anybody actively involved in event planning who has the level of passion and interest necessary to succeed in the future knows that it's time to embrace widespread and comprehensive change. While there has been a steady progression toward evolution in the industry over the last decade, the pace of change has accelerated significantly in recent times due to a variety of converging, if not always complementary, reasons. Two gentlemen by the name of William Strauss and Neil Howe wrote a book called Generations. The book seeks to recall the history of the United States dating back to 1584, and maintains that the country goes through a series of generational cycles, including 4 distinct types of cultural and societal awareness that essentially wax and wane like clockwork through the years. Essentially, what they say is that we go from a position where we're entirely focused on idealism to what is essentially the polar opposite, being entirely focused on a civic society, the need to care about others or to give back to the community. Evidently, since 2003, according to this philosophy, we transitioned back into a civic society from an era that was most definitely focused on being self-centered and mostly concerned with individualism and self-expression. Now, the work of Strauss and Howe certainly has been seen as eye-opening and revealing by many, but controversial also by others. Nevertheless, it's an interesting read, and we can certainly see some correlations when we look at the way that society has changed and is undoubtedly changing before our very eyes. The Great Recession marked a turning point for all of us in ways that were far more deeply rooted than simply an economic wake-up call. Many segments of the population turned away from the concept that bigger is always better and that any solution or business strategy is okay so long as you turn a profit at the end of the day. We're seeing a far more community-minded populace with a focus on how we can help others and collectively build a far more socially oriented future without many of the excesses that contributed to the financial cataclysm. So how does this affect the event planning industry and the future of the special event going forward? These fundamental changes in the way that we view commerce and business in relation to its effect on culture and society have occurred at a time when we have all learned to become far more connected with each other anyway. The social media revolution developed at the same time as we all rebooted our computers in the world of business and finance. Maybe it's simply a coincidence that Facebook launched during the winter of 2003 at the same time as the Strauss-Howe generational theory ushered in a brand new civic-oriented phase. We've certainly become very civic-minded now, and we've taken an interest in the lives of so many people with whom we had previously completely lost touch. While Facebook has been largely responsible for this massive shift in social understanding, social media in general has grown to become an essential part of our daily lives. Advances in technology mean that it is now rather easy for each one of us to have a voice in the world, to create a website or blog of some kind. This sense of freedom is empowering and should not be underestimated in the world of business and commerce generally, and in the event industry specifically. Within 5 years, it's estimated that more people will be using mobile devices to keep in touch and to access the internet than will be using desktop devices. By that time, millions of people around the world will have become connected to the internet for the very first time, opening up an amazing array of possibilities and opportunities and unleashing the power and potential of so many more fascinating and contributory individuals. Remember that the event industry is entirely based around one very important and fundamental human requirement: the need to gather together and experience. This fundamental need has been evident since the dawn of creation, and in the event planning industry we've provided many new and innovative solutions over the generations to help facilitate this. Yet while the industry has grown and developed and evolved as times have changed and people's needs have become better defined and more advanced, many of our events are still based on providing one solution for a multitude of attendees. In many respects, these events have been based on a one-size-doesn't-fit-all scenario, where the very specific needs of an individual attendee have not been necessarily front and center. Just consider how informed, well-educated and connected we are today, and how this trend is likely to accelerate in the years ahead. Some people like to say that social media is simply a fad, but now that we have all become so much more empowered by this level of connectivity, we are hardly likely to let go of the reins. Certainly, Facebook may well be replaced by some other solution, but we are still going to strive to connect both socially and professionally with a significantly wider array of individuals and organizations than we ever did before, during our Grandfather's Day, or even during our Father's Day. It's easy for us all to render our opinion, whether good or bad, about any aspect of life today instantaneously. We can tweet or post and wash any organization's dirty linen in public within a matter of seconds. This is a situation that every commercial organization must face and indeed embrace, and certainly a situation that the event planning industry has to adopt as well. Look at this from a positive perspective. As event planners, we have the ability to crowdsource like never before. We can get feedback, gather information, and learn very quickly whether a certain event was successful or not. We hear from the horse's mouth to tell us what we need to do to improve. As an industry, we collectively need to embrace the need to consider individualism as we design and organize our events. For example, a conference or convention is likely to be an arena where two-way interaction is fundamental. No longer should an event be focused on the delivery of information or education in one direction, but rather a far more democratic and engaged event where everybody learns from everybody else. People will take away a lot more from this type of dynamic event environment, will be able to interact with a far greater number of attendees, make more contacts, and widen their individual sphere of influence. When attendees feel that they have personally contributed to the success of an event, this creates a powerful additional need to attend such events in the future, and creates an amazing level of opportunity for the entire event planning industry. So what we need to consider is that the future is definitely bright, so long as people within the industry embrace the fact that the world has indeed changed.